what we initially, what we did when we got into all this stuff, we fenced everything up in small paddocks and got water into all those paddocks so that we could graze them to the point where they only get grazed for a few days of the year and they get rested for all the others. So really a paddock will get might only get grazed for 10 to 15 days of the year, and we'll have the other 350 days where it's rested. Those days not obviously not all together, so we'll probably graze a paddock four times a year, and that's basically it. And all that other time when it's resting, you've got things happening in the soil, and that's the exciting bit, when there's all sorts of little critters down there which are doing things, and they're all working for you for nothing. They don't cost you anything. The more then you can have, the more fertility you're going to build. So anyway, we did all that. We carved it all up, and then we came in with, when this project came on, we came in and picked a few sites to just to do observations, and so we could see if we could measure some changes of what's happening in the soil, and I suppose on top of the soil as well. But it's pretty hard to measure other than just look visually, because the sheep just come through, mow it off and move on to the next paddock. So as far as production on top goes, it's pretty hard to measure that. And saying that, it's pretty hard to measure what's happening under the ground too. So we've learnt lots, and we're having a good go at that. We've sent all sorts of tests away and things which we're still waiting for results on. But we can't see a great deal at this point, and I think that's the lesson we've got to learn from all this. It takes a long time. It's taken, you know, we've been turning the landscape into what it is today for the last 40 years. It's not going to see big changes in 1 or 2 years, I don't think. There's no silver bullets out there, and you just got to head the right direction.
So I guess as far as the trial, we set up actually 5 different paddocks. We've got 2 perennial paddocks side by side here, and one has conventional fertilisers put on it, and the other one has biological fertilisers. And then just past the trees there's 2 annual paddocks, same deal. One's got biological fertilisers and one's got conventional fertilisers, and they are rotationally grazed. And then we've got a paddock with annual grasses that is set stocked, and we've run a transect through each of those, and we take measurements and photos and everything. So we're sort of comparing, hoping to compare how they are at the start of the trial to how they are at the end of the trial, because the differences in the soil are too great to compare to each other.
How long is the trial running for?
Yeah, well that's the unfortunate thing. We've only been, it's only a 2-year project, and we don't know that we will see much within 2 years. So it finishes up at the end of this year. So we're certainly hoping that we can keep some funding coming in to take some of these measurements and see what's happening, and hopefully get some meaningful results down the track. The other thing that this sort of does, it gets a lot of people interested, and we've enjoyed that side of it with the Ag Department and various other people who've had to come and help us observe things. They all get very interested in it, and everyone wants to see good results, so it's a good thing when you see lots of people wanting to have a go.
I think what it's done is started more questions than answers. It's made us realise that it's the different soils are variable in their change and how they respond to changes, and that there's also a lot that we don't know. Just, well, you can see over there perennials grow in some places, they just don't take on other places, and the Ag Department's done metre by metre measurements and didn't really find a lot out. And so, you know, it's just a complex long-term system, and sometimes you've got to just take a leap of faith and think, well, this is what we reckon, and, you know, just have a go.
The challenge really is to learn to farm with ground cover, because the old system of just super and clover, you just got no clover at the end of the year, no cover at the end of the year, and so you live for 3-4 months of the year crossing your fingers that you don't get a blow, don't get a storm, and wash it all down the creek. Whereas if we can work out how to make a quid with ground cover, that solves all our problems, because once you've got ground cover, then these little critters want to survive, and you don't need to put the nutrients on because you're not losing them, and you get more water in the ground. There's just everything works when you've got ground cover. So the challenge is to learn to farm with ground cover, and it's certainly much more, you can drive around your farm much happier in the summertime, or in the autumn, and drive across these paddocks and see cover and you just feel good. Whereas we spent 15 years driving around in the autumn, and you're having these bare paddocks, and just, you know, if a big wind came up, you'd just go and hide on the coast. I think you didn't have to look at it. So we're enjoying the challenge, that's for sure. It's good to see ground cover.